have the St. Martin's Group angle as well.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about, if you can, introduce St. Martin's Group to us as well, if you can.
Okay, well, the St. Martin's Group is also a membership organisation, but it's a small membership organisation that comprises leading employers, providers and awarding organisations. And it was set up actually initially by training providers who understood that they faced similar challenges, and actually coming together they could provide solutions to some of those, and then bringing in employers and awarding organisations to get a perspective across the whole delivery system was really, actually for policymakers, really advantageous, because it's a one-stop shop. You know, if you want to think about a bit of policy and you can get all the main parties of the delivery system in one place, actually that's really beneficial. So it's around 30 members, no ambitions to grow beyond that, because actually what happens with this group of people is that they're able to meet once a quarter, policymakers come in to see them, and actually we're not really representing their opinion, they're there to give it themselves. And we work with policymakers in advance of policy formulation, or indeed once it's been implemented, to kind of give some advice around how delivery might be improved. So, great bunch of individuals there who believe passionately about a world-class apprenticeship and skills system. Based on their experience, their insight, their knowledge, they're able to guide some of those policymakers.
So in terms of your role, I mean, you've got the two hats on, really. I mean, how do they work together, and how are you finding juggling the two?
I was going to say, you asked me in September, and it's like party conference season and research and etc. I mean, it's sort of the demands of the jobs, like balance them at sometimes can be a bit hairy, but actually it works really well, because if you consider we're talking about policy with St. Martin's Group, and actually the people that the policy impacts the most are apprentices. And I've said, and a number of other people echo this, apprentices are the least consulted group of individuals in policy. And there are a few apprentices who manage to get their voices heard in certain scenarios, but actually that's not representative of apprentices as we see them. So I think it's really important that we try and make the join between the two. Okay.
So there's 30 members, no ambition to grow that organisation because of the impact that you're currently making, and it works for yourself.
Yeah, I think because everybody gets a chance to share their experiences, and I think beyond that, there are other brilliant organisations, by the way, who have members of training providers and employers, etc., who are able to do that at large scale. But actually, the beauty of this is it's sort of a safe Chatham House for policymakers to come and talk to those organisations. And beyond 30, I've heard it described, it comes like a broadcast rather than a sharing sort of environment.
So just give us an idea in terms of some of your meetings. I mean, is it best practice? What sort of happens in these sort of meetings? I feel like we're missing out.
Do you? Well, it depends. Say maybe you might have a minister there, or you might have a sort of senior civil servant or a policymaker come and talk, and actually they're wanting to talk about some ideas. Let's take, the government might want to do something on apprenticeships in the future, and or they want to set objectives for the programme, and they're just after ideas from employers, from providers, from awarding organisations. How would this land? What would it look like in terms of your experience? Are there any things that we should be considering? So that's typically how the meetings would run. But I think also members find it, particularly employers as well, find it quite nice to come along, because it's part of their network.
Yeah.
And I think, and I thought this one at the time I was at Lloyd's, sometimes that can be quite a lonely place when you're the only apprentice expert in the business. Everything lands with you, and it's quite difficult to make a decision, feeling a bit isolated like that. So I think the members enjoy the sort of networking element as well, being able to sort of share thoughts together.
Canny Conversation Podcast Series 5 by Safaraz Ali.